Some of your data is really referring to Oxford. A couple places next to Upwood, right there in Oxford. It was the adaptations that they were down the road that part. I mean, I know what it is. There's a flag out there of a pain.
Sad, me and Marty both said they ain't gonna get one of these three.
I don't know how to do it this time. Hey, there's a couple of me.
Looks like one. I guess.
They have a little drawer.
That's attendance.
Okay, tennis. Okay, this is fiberglass. Yes, Go figure.
All right, friend. It's 5:30.
Okay,
She haven't told us.
She's ready.
She's on.
so, okay, we're gonna start off with an opening prayer. Everybody join us in prayer, please.
Okay, let's bow our heads. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, dear Lord. We just thank you for the beautiful weather and the beautiful scenery that you give us here in Upson County, dear Lord. And we just pray for this group of people to come together and come to an understanding. We pray for this board, for the guidance, dear Lord. And we just pray for your protective covenant of all these people. And dear Lord, we just always seek your will. Dear Lord, we thank you for this night again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, and pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I call to order the March meeting of the Upson County Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll start out with we're going to skip over the adoption of our meeting minutes. We don't have our meeting minutes this go round. So we will move from there to the new business we've got tonight. And
Roll call.
oh, I'm sorry, roll call, my bad. Thank you. Let's try roll call first.
Chairman Fallon,
Yes, here.
Chairman, Commissioner Murphy,
Here.
Vice Chair Rush,
Here.
Commissioner Jacqueline,
Here.
Commissioner Little. Let the record show that he is not here. We have a quorum,
Okay, thank you.
Chairman.
Okay, and again, we will skip over the adoption of the meeting minutes from the last meeting, and we will move to new business. I'm going to abstain from the first item on our list for new business tonight, and Vice Chair Rush will take over from here.
So, the first item of new business is rezoning. It is the applicant and property owner, Ronald A. Ellington of Thomaston, Georgia. Registered agent Michael Neekirk of Mount Carmel, Illinois, has requested that Upson County rezone 22.86 acres off Crest Highway from AR to M1 for development of water harvesting, loading, transporting spring water from the site. The 22.86 acres are further identified as tax parcel 014-039B in land lot 128 of the 15th district. We are supposed to hold the fours first and then against, so no fours signed up, but we will allow the applicant to have 10 minutes to provide their commentary, and then it'll be 5 minutes per individual to speak after that.
It's my understanding also after, since there are people speaking in opposition, there'll be an additional 10 minutes.
You will get an additional 10 minutes to close. Yes,
Let
sir.
me ask, before we go forward, a procedural issue on that. If I speak the first 10 minutes, am I able to allow our hydrogeologist to speak the second 10 minutes? Is that a
Yes,
problem? Okay, okay. Just want to make sure that would be okay. May it please the board, basically, we're here on a rezoning application, as was stated, for 22.86 acres from AR, which is current zoning, to M1. Purpose is for capturing and transporting of spring water on that parcel of land from a known spring source. It will be captured from the spring, pumped to holding tanks, loaded onto trucks, and the trucks will then transport to an off-site bottling facility. Basically, the purpose of, or well, the location right now, there are 2 test wells that are at issue. 2 test wells are located behind Crystal Springs Recreation. The parcel we are talking about actually encompasses Crystal Springs Recreation. My dad owns both parcels. The test wells were done approximately a year ago by Niagara Bottling. The reason those were done, we were contacted by Niagara asking and indicating an interest in purchasing water from us. However, in doing their due diligence, which lasted approximately a year, they needed to determine 2 things: quality of water and quantity of water. Because if you have one without the other, the deal is a no-go. You can't go forward. You've got to have both. So in determining and doing the due diligence, they determined that they had the quantity of water they needed and the quality of water. So this deal started back up once their testing was done, once the studies were done. And basically what we are looking for is a rezoning to allow production wells to be drilled next to the springs where the test wells were drilled behind the pool. There will be either 1 or 2 wells drilled. Those wells, if it is 2 wells, they will be tied together underground. The water will then be pumped from those wells to the easternmost portion of the property, which is what we asked the county commissioners a couple of weeks ago to allow a land swap on. Once that water reaches that part of the parcel, it is then stored in tanks, which will be inside a 40 by 60 building. Now, I have renderings of that building. I have drawings of the site map. I will present to the members of the board for their review. But basically, we're looking at approximately an acre that will be fenced in for security purposes. There will be a building 40 foot by 60 foot in dimensions sitting on that property. It will be a brick and metal building, which inside will have restrooms. It will have a small break area for the truck drivers. It will have storage tanks. Now, the water will be pumped to those storage tanks. Those storage tanks will hold the water until a semi-truck pulls in to basically unload the water from those tanks to the truck. That truck will basically pull in a drive that's off of Highway 74, which is a state route through Upson County. Pull in the drive, enter into a key card access gate, pull up next to the building, back in, and then the loading system is totally automatic. The truck will load, pull off, back out the same gate, back to the highway, and then back to Greenville, and then north to Newnan. The bottling facility is located in Newnan, Georgia. Now, there's approximately... Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. There will be approximately 16 trucks that enter this site a day at peak performance. And the reason being 16 is this. I've heard numbers out there that we're trying to sell hundreds of thousands of gallons of water a day. DNR and state requires a permit to withdraw 100,000 gallons of water or more per day. We're staying beneath that amount. 16 trucks equals approximately 99,000 gallons of water. Each truck hauls anywhere from 6,000 to 6,200 gallons of water per day. So the trucks will back in, load, go back. So we're adding, traffic-wise, which address some people's concerns, we're adding 16 trucks per day coming in, 16 trucks per day going out. Last time DOT did a study at that location, there was 2,770 vehicles past that location within a 24-hour period. We're adding at most 32, so we're looking at adding maybe 1.2% increase to traffic. Now, there have been some concerns listed or talked about with the trucks entering and leaving the highway through the driveway that is there now. That driveway is permitted by the DOT. It has been for many, many years. My parents have owned that business for 54 years. It has actually been in business since 1859. That drive has been there for as long as I can remember, and it's currently permitted by the DOT. Now, the concerns are that this is on a busy highway. There's a blind hill. There are things of that nature. The DOT regulatory requirements are that there be a line of sight in either direction pulling out on that highway of 610 feet. The line of sight to the west, looking back toward Woodbury, is 2,000 feet. The line of sight back toward Thomaston that we have is 760 feet. So we're 150 feet in excess on the shortest end. So the regulatory requirements by DOT are met. The increase to the amount of traffic is a little over 1%. The drawings, and I think Mr. Nykerk has those that I was going to provide. Like we mentioned beforehand, we're old school, we're not on computers here, so I'm going to provide these. What I want to do is provide you the site map that has been drawn. The site map, if you notice on the site map, it's Highway 74, it's the main road going by there. The drive that comes off of 74, and then that's the one that you have, Commissioner Murphy, it's going to be a dual-purpose drive that's coming off of there. Dual purpose meaning it will be used by the trucks that enter this facility, but it will also be used by the customers of Crystal Springs Recreation. The reason being is we cannot add another drive because there's not enough road frontage to add another drive. The DOT will not allow us. However, through discussions with the DOT, they approved a dual-use drive. So our customers will actually come into that same drive during the summer when we are open and go to a designated parking area, which will be provided for us during this building process. So it is designated actually on that map also. Now, the main concern that I know everybody's here and wants to speak about tonight is, one of the issues was, why was this kept secretive for a year and a half? Indicating that there was some type of wrongdoing, some underhanded dealing, some backhanded dealing. I can tell you, I was bound by a confidentiality clause with Niagara Bottling when they showed up and asked to start testing and drill test wells on our property. Nothing that was done up to this point required the county's involvement, nor did it require any permitting. The only time this came to light is when it was appropriate, which was when we filed an application for rezoning. That's why we were before the members of the board today, is to consider that. The second issue is, how are you going to affect my water? Are you going to dry up my water? And I have a hydrogeologist here who is going to speak on that issue, Mr. Mike Ansball, and address all of the concerns of the people who want to speak tonight. However, what I want to do ahead of time to maybe alleviate some of the people's concerns on that is the company we are now dealing with, which will be hauling the water from the site to Niagara Bottling. The guy's name is Jody Todd from Aqua Logistics. They're based out of Indiana. And he has authorized me to make an offer to any member of the public who has a well that is within 1,500 feet of where we will be drilling, that he will place monitoring devices on those wells for the period of our testing, and any adverse effects that are had on that well will cause us to stop doing our pumping and address those concerns. We will provide the data from those to any member who wants those, just to assure the public that we're not trying to hide anything. We're not here to dry up anybody's well, and we're going to incur the cost of monitoring those wells, and that is within a 1,500-foot radius of where we plan on drilling. So at this point, I think my time's up. I'll allow public comment, and then Mr. Hansbach will speak.
All right. This time we'll begin public comment. You'll have 5 minutes. If you'll please step up to the X as your name is called. State your name and address, and then you may speak. So the first person is Judy Turner.
Mr. Vice Chair, if we can get them to say whether or not they're for or against.
There are no fours.
Okay.
Yes,
Which is all the-
yes, sir. So please clarify your for or against.
I'm not really against, but I'm not really for either. I just have some concerns that I want to state, and it's not anything that this family doesn't already know because they lived there 18 years prior to me, and they know the situation on the highway, and I don't think that they would be very happy with the situation if they still live there. So I just want to state some safety concerns. My name is Judy Turner. I live at 4330 Crest Highway. This is a residential property directly across from the proposed rezoning site on Crest Highway from AR to M1. And it was not listed on the application that there was a residence across the street. The residence is approximately 57 yards to the line of the highway, and it's a very heavily trafficked area. The primary concern is public safety. The location includes a 2-lane highway with a long east and west passing lane, which increases speeds while they are passing with limited sight distance to the right of the exit site planned due to a blind hill. There is also a county road entering this highway, of which is approximately right below the blind hill, and many accidents have occurred there. This is a combination of slow-moving trucks entering the highway, creating a high-risk scenario for rear-end and head-on collisions, and this creates a stacked conflict zone. I've been informed that there will be, like Jeffrey said, 15 to 16 trucks a day in and out of the driveway that is directly across in front of my house, and it will be widened to adjoin to where my driveway is. This is a heavily used truck route, a school bus route, a construction business hauling route with trailers hauling heavy equipment and dump haulers to and from work to locations daily. I respectfully request that a formal Georgia DOT traffic impact study be required before any rezoning decision is made, preferably in the summer months when the area is the busiest, because the pool is open, the recreation area is open 6 months out of the year, and it's very busy then. Additionally, the zoning classifications is not compatible with the surrounding residential character and will impact adjacent residential property value and marketability, and I will have lost a rural character. This is also a family recreation park, and it is open to residents and families in a neighborhood. The planning driveway is going to be open for the picnic area, plus the trucks coming in the same area, and going to the back parking lot where the trucks are entering in and out. And this is a zoning sheet of my property. It's highlighted in blue. I am like 1.6 acres around the Ellingtons. I have nothing against the Ellingtons whatsoever. They are wonderful people. They're like family to me. This is the pictures I want y'all to pass around of the area where the blind hill is, the curve. Now when I come out of my driveway, I can look left to this blind hill and this curve, and I can see around the curve. But the side that these trucks are going to be coming out from are going to be coming out from the opposite side. And when they look at that curve, they're not going to see the curve. They're only going to see the blind hill and the cars coming out of Shaw Road. This decision could impact anybody that's on this route at any given time. It could create a fatal accident as many times as there are skid marks and vehicles in the highway lanes where someone has had to lock down on their brakes in this area. And once again, I respectfully ask that the commissioners please consider whether this is the appropriate location for these industrial zoning property to have ingress and egress for these areas for this type of project. Because I have lived there for 33 years, and I know Mr. Ron and Miss Connie lived there 18 years prior to me. And I'm retired, I love living there, and I thought I was going to be there forever, but I'm second guessing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one to speak, I'm sorry, I can't really read the first name. Is it Shonda?
Stanley Elliott.
Stanley Elliott.
You were close.
I'm Stanley Ed. I live at 5131 Crest Highway. I've lived out there all except 3 years of my 71 years on the face of this earth. And you can put lipstick on a pig ever how much you want to, but when you go do an industrial pumping where you have shallow wells and you've got a county landfill and tire dump and asbestos dump, not but about 2 miles from there. Plus, the traffic on 74 is awful. This whole weekend, all we've done is heard fire trucks, seen rescue units, ambulance units, and everything else. Plus, I have sat in my driveway on Thursday morning and watched 101 trucks and cars go up and down right in front of the opposite side of the creeks. This is not a good place for this situation. And a lot of people have moved to our part of the county because of the water that we have in the county. And I can tell you from going down in these wells when I was a kid, and I know for a fact my dad's well, when they punched through the mica rock, they hit an artesian well. It blew the man's hat off his head 100 feet above the ground. Butch Presley's got a lot of water too. I know for a fact when they drilled their well, because I hadn't known the county had threatened him one time about taking his water for a water system out in our part of our county. He's got a lot of water over there. My whole problem is you don't pump water out of the part of your county what makes you live. And like a lot of these people have said, they're planning on staying there the rest of their lives, and I don't see where all this stuff went on without anybody being told or being knowing about it. All these people coming in and giving all this legal jargon and crap about we don't want to let y'all know what we're going to do. Well, we knew something was going on. The drill rig was sitting on top of the hill, and that was an industrial drill rig. So, you know, you're just not going out there looking just to be looking. This is a deep well deal. Plus the water in our end of the county, when we have a lot of rain and a lot of movement, we have a lot of sedimentation, even in some of the 600 and 700 foot wells. You know, you can tell me what you want to, but I was there with the dry hydrant people, with the hydrologist then. And if you look at a hydraulic map of our part of the county, it's green. Everything under it's green. So that tells you you're sitting on top of an aquifer. Our aquifer comes out of Lookout Mountain, Tennessee. That's where our water starts. The next one is down at Whitewater Creek below Butler. So when you go to pumping your life blood out of here, which is your water, you've got septic tanks, you've got that landfill, and I just don't see where anybody would be coming in here wanting water. Why did they come in here in the first place? What was the whole reason? Who suggested for them to come in here? And that's one of my biggest problems. Why did they come in here looking for water? I mean, and here you go up to the Woodbury watershed, they're pumping water up to Griffin because they don't have water. So why are you going to come to the edge of our county and pump our water out to ship it somewhere else till it's not going to help anybody here in the county? So that's my biggest problem. Contamination, noise, traffic, and just nobody can really tell me, I don't care who it is. We had noise back in the past, and I have asked the question, what was all the rumbling? They said we had earthquakes. Well, come to find out, the rumbling, what I was told by people that knew, when I asked the question, it was the caverns filling up under us from where that system of water was held. And I can tell you for a fact, on my property, I don't do anything around it much because you have to be careful with the septic tanks and the wells. And I have been without to the position of having wells contaminated and having to put in city and county water in some property I have. And that's bad, especially when you've got septic tanks that stop up everything else. But the biggest thing is the noise, and you're pumping our water away. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Catherine Barham, please step up, state your name, address, and whether you're for or against.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Barham. I live at 353 Fire Tower Road. And I don't know if I'm for or against. I am concerned about, he said that this guy's done some geological studies. I'd like to know about the water tables out there, how it's going to affect them in that part of the county if they start drilling and taking all this water out. How is it going to affect the water tables farther out or around there? Because we do need our water, and most of us have wells out there. And I don't want county water because it's not very good, and they have all these things you have to boil your water and do all this other stuff too. So I'd rather have my well water and know that I can still have well water. And I think that's a concern of a lot of people out toward Crest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person, Debbie Bell.
Thank you. I'm Debbie Bell. I live at 147 Mulberry Road. I'm opposed to this on 2 points. First, and most importantly, this request is not consistent with our comprehensive plan. For those who aren't familiar with our comp plan, it's our framework, it's our blueprint. It's put together as a public document for how we want our county to develop and grow. Growth isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we want it to happen in a planned way that respects and protects our community. A large part of the comprehensive plan is related to land use, to development and zoning. And this area is designated for low-density residential. The request for M1 is not in alignment with our comprehensive plan at all. The second point is zoning. AR and M1 are just about as far apart on the zoning spectrum as you can get. They're polar opposites. Under most zoning districts, you'll see a list of permitted uses, and then you'll see a list of conditional uses. And the conditional uses have some special requirements. Permitted uses are uses by right. Once you've got that zoning district, you can do any of those uses in that zoning district. So if their water bottling thing falls through, they could sell it to someone else, or they could develop a different use, a repair garage, an armory, cosmetic and pharmaceutical plant, sheet metal fabrication, textile manufacturing. It just opens Pandora's box for things that are not appropriate in the middle of a residential and agricultural area. So I would respectfully request that you deny this on grounds of incompatibility with our comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Laddie Fulcher.
I don't care.
Okay, let the record show. Heath Maddox.
Thank you for hearing me. Heath Maddox, 375 Andrews Chapel Road. And kind of echoing what Ms. Bell said, I'm here just to speak on the people that's not in a room, that doesn't have property value going down or water. I'm here to talk about something that's everybody's favorite, and that's auto insurance. Rezoning from agricultural residential to a light industrial M1, and this I'm just being informative, can increase auto rates in the surrounding zip codes over time because insurers adjust premium, which is me, based on traffic density, accident frequency, and claim patterns, all which typically rise when industrial activity moves in. Why industrial rezoning raises auto insurance? More traffic, more accidents. It's easy. Semi-trucks, delivery vans, some employees at shift change, contractors, construction vehicles, all of these increase collision, severity of accidents, road wear, which is going to have to be fixed and maintained by taxpayers. Accidents also involving commercial trucks cause higher bodily injury payments, higher property damage payouts. So the insurance company's going to recoup that. They're going to get theirs. 24-hour operations, if it is. I'm not sure if it is or not, I'm just throwing this out there. M1 zone includes facilities, kind of what Ms. Bill was saying, once you open that Pandora's box, who knows what you're going to get. Includes facilities open overnight, which is more nighttime driving, more fatigue-related accidents, more theft, more vandalism in industrial areas. Also, if you got to have construction, or if there is a wreck, you also got to look at and take into account, and we've done seen it with the bridges going out, road closures, detours, construction trucks, and temporary traffic spikes. And then how much could the rate increase? And this is just a rough figure. If you have mild industrial growth, it could increase up to 2 to 5% over 1 to 3 years. And that's something that every person in the county will be paying. And if you have a major industrial growth, you could be looking at 5 to 12% auto increases. And I just wanted to put that out so everybody be informed. But no, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Tammy Boyle.
Tammy Boyle, 245 Charlie Jones Road. I live approximately 3 miles.
Ma'am, are you for or against?
Oh,
Please.
sorry. I'm against.
Thank you.
I live approximately 3 miles from the site currently under consideration, and I stand before you today representing many in the Crest community that urge you to vote no to this rezoning request. This rezoning request is not about property lines. It's about what this change truly means for the public health, safety, morality, or general welfare of the Crest community and those that travel through it. The decision is not just a simple administrative decision, as it shifts the character of our mostly rural, residential, and agriculture community. While we can all respect the property rights of an individual's desire to maximize profit from their backyard, we cannot allow that to outweigh the collective rights of an entire community to maintain its safety and quality of life. Rezoning is a permanent gateway, as mentioned already, and this request is not just about what's on the application today. It's about what kind of manufacturing or industry is legally acceptable tomorrow. The zoning request, coupled with its intended purpose, has life-impacting consequences that do not prioritize the protection and conservation of our water and natural resources as referenced in the Upson County Comprehensive Plan or in alignment with the Georgia Water Plan. I, along with others in the Crest community, believe that approving this request would place a higher safety risk of residents, visitors, and those traveling Highway 74. The DOT, in probably the same transportation study, has listed Highway 74 in Upson County as currently operating at a level of service of D. According to the Georgia DOT, LOSD characteristics include drivers experiencing low comfort, high frustration, reducing their speed, limiting the ability of changing lanes. They also characterize this level of service as operating or near its capacity, as has reached a point of moderate to heavy congestion where traffic flow is unstable and freedom to maneuver is severely limited. I, along with the Crest community residents, the parents and the grandparents of those who swim at Crystal Springs, ask you to deny the rezoning on the premise of public safety, health, and general welfare. I too am curious as to why this company doesn't want to operate with a permit, and I would also like to know who is responsible for monitoring their output. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Candy Garcia.
My name is Candy Garcia. I'm at 5 Glencliff Road, Thomaston, Georgia. I'm against the location. I'm not against having a bottled water company. I drink bottled water. However, I feel that the new bottled water company should be located in a more remote area where there are no houses close by, nor children around for safety reasons, especially with big trucks coming in and out of the water facility.
Thank you. Next up is Susan Harper. Susan Harper?
Yes, sir.
We will wait.
I'm Susan Harper. I live at 292 Barker Road, and I'm a guest. This is, our property is next, not adjacent to this property, but there's one parcel between our property and this property. We have deep wells, we have cows and catfish, and I would be very concerned about the amount of water that they're taking out. Jeff says they've done a study, but this is probably 500 feet from the two county wells that are out that way. And my understanding was that the first county well was not providing sufficient water, so they came back and drilled another well. So there's a whole lot of water being taken out. They provide water for a large portion of Upson County. I don't disagree with anything anybody else has said. I agree with it 100%. I just think it's not the right place.
Thank you. Sir, did you sign up?
Yeah, he did.
Well,
James?
can you wait till we call
He
you?
can go ahead, I mean.
I'm a husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Harper, James Harper, would you please stand up, state your name, address? Up for or
292
against?
Barker Road.
Yes, sir.
What's been left out here is farm down. Now, the Perkins, when he passed away, he left it to his daughter. She gave it to wildlife. It's a different name, but it's under something like wildlife, okay? To preserve the land. Now, we're going in there and get the water. That's what they want to do. It'll preserve the land she has, and she lives in Ohio. But now they want to come in there and sell the water. There's a lot of people that depend on this water for cattle. My son's one of them, my grandson's one of them, I'm one of them. There's several of them. Neighbors sitting out here. It's not just drinking water. And if it gets contaminated, and it can get contaminated, because different things take place over time. So I'm against it, I'm thoroughly against it, and I'd like to see it stop. And that's all I gotta say. I would like to know the name of the group that this land was given to in the wildlife. I don't know that. The surveyor told me all this information about the land when it was sale. He gave me this information when he was surveying it a few years back. So it's not hearsay. So that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Harper.
I
Thank
have
you.
one more question I'd like to ask, if I may. I thought our zoning ordinance prohibited spot zoning. Isn't that spot zoning?
This is just public comments, Mr. Chair. We can't answer questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Angie Hausman?
Angie Houseman, 390 Barker Road. I'm against it. And like many others, they are excellent neighbors. I've known all three of them my entire life. And sadly, I only found out about this yesterday, so I have a sticky note to prepare. I didn't have the luxury of hiring people to voice my concerns and help my cause. But I feel just that they were hired to voice y'all's concerns. I mean, to support y'all, not to support our community. So I don't know, no offense, but if I'm sure I could find anybody if I paid them enough money to say exactly what I wanted them to say. I'm concerned also about the noise, because pumps make noise, tractor trailers make noise. Every time you hit the bump part of the highway, it makes a noise that you can hear from my home, which may not be 1,500 feet from where they're going to drill, but it is close. if you go through the woods, I live next door to my parents. It's very close. I've walked to Perks, through the creek actually, that goes to Perks as a child. So, traffic has been addressed. The property values, I feel like my property is going to decrease in its value because now it's rezoned right across the hill for something that could start off as water and end up being anything. I also feel like it would be, I don't understand why the county itself is not concerned because the water tower right there belongs to the county. Not to mention the residents, the people who have farm animals. Like my dad said, we have cows. We also have chickens and goats, and we live there. I've lived there my entire life, with the exception of when I was at college. The water's great. I hauled it back and forth to Athens because I didn't like the Athens water. And I guess I have two questions. If your well is, say, 1,600 feet, we just SOL. And he made reference to a land swap. I don't know what that is. So maybe somebody can tell me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Maddox.
My name is Amy Maddox. I live at 375 Andrews Chapel Road. My mother lives across from the pool, so I frequent there often. My concern is the zoning classification. Is this really an M1 or is it an M2? A water harvesting site with industrial scale drilling, large silo holding tanks, and high volume heavy traffic, 40 plus trips a day, 32 if we're talking about 16. You told my mom 16, but on your application you say 20 vehicles. So 32 or 40 trips a day in and out of this driveway is almost certainly classified as an M2, heavy industrial or heavy general industrial mining, rather than M1, light industrial. The intensity of operations and potential for noise, traffic, and environmental impact necessitate this classification, particularly when situated near residential property. M1, light industrial, typically involves low-intensity manufacturing, assembly, warehousing, and in some cases, smaller-scale commercial water distribution. Activities in M1 zones generally do not create significant noise, heavy traffic, or environmental pollution. M2, which is heavy industrial mining, designed for high-impact activities including major water extraction drilling, large-scale storage silos, and significant heavy truck traffic. Water harvesting operations requiring large machinery, constant high-volume truck movements, 20 to 40 daily, and 24/7 or early morning noise are indicative of an M2 zoning. I feel like a traffic impact study should be conducted. A conditional use permit should be obtained, and environmental noise impact. This violates residential industrial compatibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe McWar.
McManus.
Please step up, sir.
Sorry, my handwriting's terrible.
It got cold.
Joe McManus, I'm at 199 Ferguson Road. My property line is directly behind the Ellington's property where it is. The test well is about 100 yards from my property line on the back side. I feel like it's a mistake to change the zoning on this because it just isn't right for this area, which is mostly residential. I was going to say something about traffic, but that's been beat to death, so I won't do that. It's my understanding that the zoning's changed and they can go ahead with the water harvesting without an impact study. And that is my biggest concern. Not only the traffic, but an impact study hydraulically. Maybe they can answer that question here later. But I'm concerned about people's wells pulling out that much water every day. And My property is basically upstream from where the test wells are. What if I put a 10-acre lake 200 or 300 yards from the test well? What kind of effect is that going to have on their water quality, and how will that come back on me? That's one concern. I don't know how the water flows up underground and whether it'll affect it at all. I'm not totally against it, but I think if this thing passed, we need an impact study to know where it's going and how it's going to affect everybody. That's all I had.
Thank you, sir. That is the end of the list of people who signed up to speak. The applicant has 10 minutes to close.
I did have one question. I do need to make a point. Can I have the first minute and then turn it over to my hydrogeologist? Basically, I have a statement. I think it's going to address directly what Mr. McManus just hit on. This is a statement from the owner of Aqua Logistics, which is the company we are dealing with. His name is Jody Todd. And I'm going to actually just read it into the record because it addresses this concern. He said, "We understand residents are concerned about their wells. That's why hydrogeologic testing is such an important part of this process. Before any production begins, the project will include pump tests and monitoring wells to measure drawdown and recovery of the aquifer. These tests determine what a sustainable withdrawal rate looks like. If the aquifer cannot support the withdrawal, the project does not move forward. We are fully committed to making sure everything is done responsibly and sustainably." Also, I did want to state the well that I have is the closest to this production well. It's 720 feet away, and it's actually the well that is tied to the same spring that provides the water for Crystal Springs Recreation. I have an operating business that is 100% totally dependent on this water. So I'm not going to make a decision to withdraw water from the same spring if it's going to adversely affect my other business. I've seen the studies. Mr. Ansball is going to hit on those in a minute. So I know the impact on my well and my business is non-existent. And I reiterate the fact that we will monitor wells within a 1,500-foot radius to make sure there is no adverse effects on those wells.
Hi, I'm Mike Amsball. I'm a hydrogeologist. Actually, I'm from right up the road in a little town called Villa Rica. My wife and I own a horse farm up there, and we have chickens, and I raise bees, and we have our own on-site well, and we're very concerned about water. The first half of my career was in the military, where I spent 20 years, and then I spent another 20 years working in the bottled water industry as a water resource manager. I currently serve as a director with the National Groundwater Association, and I got hired. I own a company called Pastabella Consulting, and I work on identifying springs and developing. When I heard things tonight, with having a horse farm, I thought a lot about that. And we rescue horses, and wherever we get horses in, there's a whole lot of, well, I wonder if that horse is going to do that. What if that horse does this? What if that horse? You don't know. You don't know until you get on them. And, we don't know exactly everything that's going to happen here. And you can't know every single situation. The way I study a site, the way I approach a site, is I look for studies that have been done in the area, primarily by the United States Geologic Survey or the Georgia Geologic Survey, studies that have been done that can indicate or give me some data on what we should expect to find. There were some drill rigs that were in the site that installed a few test wells. One of the wells, I believe, was a 6-inch, and the other were 2-inch. None of those wells can be used as production wells. Those were primarily to look at the geology of the site. The site is very unique. When you find spring sites, springs don't exist everywhere. And bottled spring water has to have a spring. In fact, the water that goes in the bottle has to be identical to the water that's coming out of the ground. That particular site has a spring that yields 110 gallons per minute. That water passes by, goes into a little gully, and it just flows there 24/7, 365 days a year. So no study, we haven't done any study, but the site will be very well investigated. Now, when we talk about that, we have a vested interest. Our vested interest is not saying stamping it, everything's okay. There's some big companies involved in this, and they're putting out a lot of capital, long-term capital. And if they have a source that has some fatal flaws, they need to know up front. And so if there's fatal flaws, they need to know. So it's not going to be a half step, just stamping everything yes. That's not the way anybody would do business. So the spring, when we find springs, we have to find a naturally occurring spring, and then we look at the geology, and that's why we put those wells in now. Now what we find there is that's very unique is you're part of the, it's called the Blue Ridge and Piedmont Aquifer System. My well on my property taps into the same aquifer system. So you go down through the superficial sediments, and then there's some fine-grained clay, and under that there's a quartzite unit. I imagine a lot of the well owners here hit that quartzite unit. And you may have a deeper well. Primarily, if you have a well that didn't hit many fractures, your driller's going to say, drill that a little deeper. That's mostly for storage capacity. But most of your fractures are going to be in that quartzite. At that site, you always question, well, why do we have springs here? Well, we found a spot where the quartzite is highly fractured. That's probably why we have springs, because the water tends to flow more through highly fractured rock. What we also have to look at is, just visualize for a minute, that site is at the bottom of a valley, and it's surrounded by higher elevation sites on three sides. I don't have an exact, I was trying to write down these numbers, but I got so much to say in a short time, so I'm not going to quote a bunch of numbers to you. But I think the site's about 760 foot elevation, and it's surrounded by sites that go from 860 to 2,000 foot elevation. And if you think about this, we're talking about the same aquifer throughout that entire area. So if that site's at 760, and you do a cross-section from high elevation to high elevation, that aquifer goes from a valley all the way up on each side. So what that does in that valley bottom where there's highly fractured rock, that aquifer goes up, it's providing what we call hydraulic head, or energy of position. So one of those wells we put into the most fractured area, it has artesian pressure of about 5 or 6 pounds, meaning we had to cap it because the water's coming out of the top of the well. That's the same reason we have a spring there, because of artesian pressure. Naturally, it has broke through the surface, and it's flowing. It's been flowing there for a long time. When we talk about development of spring sources, there's a couple of different ways to develop them. We can go in and we can develop that natural spring source by using something called a spring catchment. Now keep in mind, if we're developing this for a drinking water source, all water contact surfaces must be food grade. If we're going to do a catchment, that's stainless steel. So we get a big tile of stainless steel. We dig the spring out. It's almost like brain surgery. We carefully set that stainless steel in there. We put clean rock around it, and we can develop that 110 gallons per minute. And we can put runoff in it, and we can use that 110 gallon spring. And we agree with the state, and this is not something that we developed. The state of Georgia says that if you agree to use less than 99,000 gallons a day or a flow rate of 69 gallons per minute, you're considered inconsequential. So you do not have to have a permit. You have to let us know. You have to go through that process. You don't have to have a permit. Most other states, I've worked all over the country, most other states say that a withdrawal of less than 69 gallons per minute or less is inconsequential. So it's not us making the rule. That's what most states have that rule in place. So what we're looking at is, when we talk about a catchment is one way we could put it in. We'd have a natural flow of 110 gallons per minute. There's some drawbacks to a catchment though. What that would do, if we were pulling that spring water, it would take away from the natural spring water that's flowing into that ravine right now. If we use a borehole, I prefer a borehole, and that's called capturing the spring water before it emerges at the land surface. It's a whole lot cleaner, because with the big spring catchment, you've got all this surface area. You have a much higher chance with more surface area of picking up bacteria. So if we put in a small borehole, we control that area, so we're not as likely to pick up bacteria. If you pick up bacteria or any other contaminant, you must stop using that source immediately. If we have a bottling plant that's 40, 50 miles away, I have 1 minute. Is that what you said? I have 1 minute?
1 minute.
Oh, jeez. So if anything gets in there, anything even as small as bacteria, we have to stop using the source. Pumping and drawdown has been a major concern. There's a USGS report. I'll gladly give anybody the call out they want on that. It shows that pumping a well at 230 gallons per minute in the fractured rock aquifer, you have immediate response 10 to 50 foot from the well. At 150 to 300 foot from the well, you have a detectable drawdown. At 300 to 1,000 foot from the well, you may have small drawdown, typically undetected. And that's at 230 gallons a minute. We're talking about putting in a borehole at 69 gallons per minute. The last thing I want to mention is the source has to be very well documented, because even though the state won't issue us a permit, we cannot sell a product until the FDA, we have to meet all the requirements to be a food product. So in order to distribute a product, you have to meet all the requirements of the Food and Drug Administration. That requires you to meet their standards of identity. In turn, that requires you to do a hydrogeologic report. So our hydrogeological report will address the FDA standards of identity. If anybody wants to ask me questions about the FDA standards of identity, I'll gladly address it. But it's basically any food product that you go buy in the store, they're not just going to slap it out there like a farmer's market and say go to. There's got to be documentation. Thanks for letting me talk to you, board.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board? Any comments?
I have a few questions. Mr. Ellington,
Yes, sir.
just a few questions about the property, the building, the tanks.
Yes,
The tanks, will the tanks be housed inside the building?
there will. There will be completely inside, and there will be either 3 or 4 tanks totaling an amount of 30,000 gallons.
Okay. Do you know the approximate height, or do you know the height of the building that you're
I
proposing?
got a drawing.
Okay.
I don't know if this.
18 feet eve height,
Eve height is 18 feet.
preliminary numbers,
And is it going to be a flat roof, pitched?
pitch roof.
Pitched, okay. I'm assuming metal?
Yes.
The bottom of it's actually going to be brick.
Correct.
The bottom will be brick.
Right, with the metal roofing?
Yeah, metal roof,
Yep.
yes.
Brick veneer on the
On the front
On the
and
front.
around the bottom, yes.
Okay. Mr. Ellington, do you know the typical hours of loading and unloading? Is that,
Mike, you may know this more than I do. It's going to depend more on the demand at the bottom of the site. When they have a demand, then they need water at that time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say a truck won't come in the middle of the night, 2 won't come in the middle of the night. I don't know. That's going to be determinative by demand.
Okay.
I would assume most trucks will run during the day, though.
I had another question about the permit, but the gentleman just spoke, clarified that for me. I want to clarify too, when Mr. Ellington stated earlier that it was 16 trucks in and 16 trucks out, we calculate that as 32. The way the Department of Transportation calculates, you have to calculate every truck that goes in has to come out. So there'll be 16 trucks daily that make a trip in and out of that. I want to clarify that. Also, I want to clarify, I understand Mr. Ellington's position. When he signed the NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, he was bound contractually by law not to discuss this with anybody outside of the people that was under that contractual agreement. So I understand his position not being able to discuss it with the county or with the public citizens until said time that he had to come before a zoning action here. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I've known the Ellington family for a very long time, and regardless of tonight's outcome, I find them to be very honest people, and they be very transparent with what's going on here. So I wanted, for those of you who didn't understand his obligation, that is the reason for this not being spoke of very much in the public. I think that answers my questions on that.
I think my question, I got one for you and one for Mr. Ashcroft. Number one, he answered my question about truck loading, because I know that somebody said that the application, and I'm not finding it, but that doesn't mean it's not there, is 20 trucks, but you are sure that it will be less than 16 or less per day.
And let me explain why that number is on there.
Okay.
The number of trucks will be 16 or less per day, because each truck hauls between 6,000 and 6,200 gallons of water. At 6,000, 16 trucks, we're looking at 96,000 gallons a day. If you go to 17, you're at 102,000. We've gone over the limit that we can go. So we will stay beneath that. 6,200, you're looking at, I think that's 99,200 gallons a day. So we can't go over with that either. So at max, or peak performance, you're looking at a maximum of 16 trucks per day. The reality of that happening is slim. Most days are going to be a lot less, but I included the 16. The reason I got to 20 was 16 plus if something on site breaks, if somebody has to go recalibrate a computer, turn on something, check a security system, I wanted there to be those extra vehicles accounted for. I didn't want somebody to say, well, there's 20 vehicles and you only put 16. I wanted to err on the side of caution and put more than what there actually was. That's 16 trucks in, and as Mr. Murphy said, that's also 16 out. So if we're counting the number, I would say 16 in, 16 out. I added another 4. So you could actually say 20 in and 20 out, so 40.
Also, one of the constituents' questions that I had written down as well, who will do your monitoring to make sure you stay under that 100,000 gallons?
My understanding, everything is computerized. I think Mike Nyker, or can either one of y'all answer that, because that's out.
Yes, we will have a monitoring plan in place.
Can you stand under that mic so
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can hear you? Thank you.
We'll have part of this hydrogeologic report, we'll have a monitoring plan in place. And that monitoring plan will include water levels in all the wells, any neighboring wells that decide to be monitored, and then our use.
Okay.
And I think the use is available, from what Jody Todd, the owner of this company, has told me, that use is available for me to check or for anybody to check at any time. He said that would be made available to me as the landowner, to the county. If the county had any concerns, or anybody that had any concerns, he would gladly make that available to anybody. So it's a computerized system.
So I'm a neighbor and I want the monitoring system on my well. If something goes south, well, just south, but if something does go wrong, how is it alarming someone to say there's a well problem with a neighboring well?
I think what we have agreed to do is during the testing phase, when we're performing tests on site, when we're doing pumping tests and pumping these wells to see the adverse effect, it's my understanding during those tests, those wells are pumped harder than they are during production to see what the problems could be. So if we're going to be pumping 69 gallons or trying to get 69 gallons a minute out of these wells, during testing phase, we may be pumping at, 90 gallons, 100 gallons a minute? Yes. Easily to determine. So we're over pumping the wells to determine what problems. Now the monitoring wells that we've agreed, or the monitors we've agreed to put on the neighbors' wells will be placed on those wells during testing. So if there is going to be a problem at that level of pumping, it is going to show up in their wells. They're going to see problems. The wells will be monitored. I guess they will be computer monitored, which will all go back to a center computer that will monitor and keep track of all the wells. If there is a problem, that will alert us. Now, those printouts, those reports, we'll make them available to all homeowners. If they then want to get a second opinion and say, hey, is this adversely affecting my well? No problem. If the county wants to come out during testing, if the county wants to look at those reports, we'll make them available to the county also. That's how sure we are that it's not going to have an adverse effect on anybody outside of that well. And I'm sure of it because it's not going to affect my well.
Okay, this spring you said yields already 110 gallons per day, per minute?
That's a natural flow. Natural flow from an artesian spring, yes.
Okay, and the 2 test wells you've done, the 6 and the 2, are connected to this one?
They're
this spring?
The same spring that the test wells are connected to is the spring that provides water to the pool.
Okay.
So I'm getting water from that spring to the pool. These test wells are tied into that same one. That's why I know it's not going to affect the pool, because they're drawing out of the same, they're pulling out the same spring. Okay. So the flow rate that I have at the pool plus the flow rate of those has not had, they have not impacted each other at all.
Okay. I think that's some questions. I think. My mind is going,
I'll answer, I mean,
But,
I'll stay here till midnight.
I don't want to stay here, Jeff. I know where you live now, you know. I guess there's 4 wells on this property, correct?
4 wells right now.
Right now.
Test wells.
They're test wells.
You probably want to know what happens to those 2.
Right.
The other 2, there was not a chemical match between the other 2 and the spring. So they're basically, for lack of a better word, irrelevant, because when they drill down and get water, they could not say there was a chemical match to the spring. Even though they were the closest ones to the spring at the pool, they were not chemically matched, so they did not pursue those 2 wells. But there you can see.
So these other 2 are chemically matched?
The 2 behind the pool are chemically matched to the known spring source that we have. Those 2
And
are
this
not.
will be the source for the trucks that are coming in. And then another thing, I know that I've heard I think I took it 21 times, noise. How much noise does it produce by it killing the trucks?
I'm gonna leave that to Mike Nyker on that.
I don't believe you'll be able to hear anything when the trucks are being filled.
Okay.
They back up, the pumps are inside the building.
Okay.
They're just small horsepower pumps, they're nothing big. The pumps will back up to the building, beside the building, the driver will hook a hose up, and the pumps will kick on. And then you've got pumps at the wells, which again, they're low horsepower pumps, and they're gonna be in the woods there, so I really don't think you'll hear anything from those pumps.
So the only noise you'll get would actually be the trucks.
It'll be the trucks.
It's the trucks.
The trucks going in and out.
Going in and out
Yeah.
over there.
Because all the
And-
equipment's enclosed inside that building.
Is that paved now? I don't go that way a whole lot, but is that
Yes.
drive paved?
The
or
drive is paved.
Will be paved?
It is actually asphalt now. It may have to be rebuilt to withstand the weight of the trucks, which means the drive will be torn out, a better base put in, and thicker asphalt.
Okay.
Because the asphalt that was put in there was with the understanding that mainly it would be car and truck traffic with occasional commercial vehicles, but not what we're looking at here, so it would be.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I'm gonna ask you to come over here so you can answer. But like, this is the pool, right?
Yes.
Right here,
No,
okay.
this is the pool,
This
that's
is
your
the
pool.
pool.
This is the picnic area.
This is the picnic area.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the driveway.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is actually from y'all's old home place, correct?
Correct, that's
Where
the-
Mr. Ellington lived.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these will be paved parking area there, or are they still gonna be, they're still gonna keep
This
their
will-
same landscape as they are now?
This will be paved off the highway down to here. This will keep the same landscape. It will be, this will be gravel,
Okay.
so it will not be paved.
All right, where will the pump be when, on here? Like where
The pumps for,
if you pump the water out?
the pumps at the well will be at the well site. So
Okay.
where the wells are, you have a drawing of
The pumps at the well will be similar to a residential pump. There'll be a submersible pump.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I was sitting there writing questions that everybody had, so I just want to make sure we get all those answers.
It's going to be on this map.
Okay.
Our 74.
Okay.
This is the pool.
Okay.
This is the creek that goes beside it. These are the 2 test wells. that are back
Now, this
there.
is the creek where the little bridge goes
Yes, ma'am.
over to the parking lot?
That's the bridge, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So this is, so that's the creek. These are the 2 test wells, which are behind Crystal Springs.
How far is that from the pool?
50 feet maybe.
Okay.
Because we measured yesterday from our spring and our well to back here, and it's 720 feet. The closest one is the draw water. So basically, from back here, to back of the pool, to back of the maybe 600 feet.
From these 2 well sites, how far is it?
Now, these wells, these are test wells. The production wells are going to be like this way. Yes, ma'am. So they'll be from the property line.
Okay.
So if you're bringing, if everybody can keep it quiet, please. If you're bringing truck traffic in there and we're entering and exiting on 74, and I heard you say there'll be some paving rework, will you not be required to put a legal DOT entrance in? to bring those trucks in and out?
Yes, we will. And we will comply with any permitting required by the DOT for that, yes.
Actually, technically, we're not unless we do work on DOT right away. So,
But-
technically, you could use that entrance right now. Now, practically, we won't do that.
So
We'll
you're
need
talking
to
about you
improve.
will add a decel lane, right? Is that
No,
what
I
you're-
don't, whatever DOT
Just
would
the highway
require.
entrance.
Whatever
Okay.
DOT would require.
So if we tear out that drive to rebuild one, we have to abide by DOT regulations and put that drive in.
Within the right of way, for sure.
Correct, correct. Regarding width, regarding everything that they're going to require. So all their regulatory requirements will be met for that drive, yes.
So keep in mind, we've not officially applied for DOT permit. We've had preliminary discussions and went through the process preliminarily. But we'll go ahead and apply for official permit, and we'll have to comply with whatever the requirements they have.
But you have done the site distance with DOT, correct?
Yes.
We've done the site
I
distance, yes.
thought I remembered that from the Board of Commissioners meeting. Okay.
2,000 feet to the west and 760 feet to the east.
Okay.
We wanted to confirm that we were going to be able to comply before we got further down the road.
Okay.
Mark, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Just want to make a few statements as part of what I do as development. Mr. Ellington, you do, I mean, you just stated it, you'll have to comply with Georgia DOT with that access, the widening, the encroaching, you have to have a temporary construction permit, encroachment permit to do all that. So I'm sure that that'll all be addressed, you know, if going forward you go through your building permit review process and land disturbance permit process. Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Are you satisfied with that?
I think I'm good.
Do we have a motion to close public hearing?
Like to make-
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
All.
Do we have the staff report?
No, we do not.
Not being good, no, he said he has no staff report.
Okay.
We don't have to. Do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion to approve the applicant with conditions. Approve, the condition being that if the usage is changed from a water pumping facility, that the zoning of N1 would then be reverted back to AR, or it'll have to come back before this board, ultimately before the county commissioners, to get that approval.
Absolutely no objection to that whatsoever.
So to clarify my motion, make a motion to approve with a condition that if the usage changes, that it would have to come back before commission to get an approval, the same as this process is.
Do we have a second?
I'm going to second it with those conditions, because that was one of my concerns for sure, that somebody could come in there with a manufacturing for business or something, so yes. And
Like I said, we have no objection to that whatsoever because we have no other plans.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
All right, I'm passing the meeting back over to Chairman Fallon.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rush. Anybody like to leave, you please, would be willing to do that now and make it speedy, please. Keep your comments with yourself going out the door.
Nice to meet you.
These are my buddy truck.
Because I had 3 copies. That's actually got the drawings of the building. It's got the map sheet, it's got the site plan, it's got the plans, because I didn't get a chance.
I wasn't at the last one, so that's why I didn't.
Drawings of the building, but they're all in there.
I-
All full plans, so.
How it was, if Doug is the only one here, he doesn't end up
Jack.
practice.
Jack. Can I see that?
Yes. When the next board of commissioners was off, that I didn't bring my. I believe so. On court?
I'm not, you there those meetings also?
I'll be there.
I'm gonna pull you aside for that meeting, so give me a 2-minute warning.
Okay.
I get, I'm passionate about what I do, and I get excited.
Okay, next we'd like to move on. Thank you. Like to move on to the second item on our new business agenda, which is the rezoning, the REZ 2026-0201. Applicant and property owner Joshua Long of Thompson, Georgia, has requested Upson County rezone 2.417 acres of Highway 19 at Atwater Road from C2 to M1 for development of flex space. The 2.417 acres are further identified as tax parcel 042116 in the land lot 234-433 of the 10th Land District. Do we have somebody here representing this application?
I guess not.
Okay, we have nobody here to represent this application. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, under this motion, if we have nobody to represent it, we don't have a lot of information, in my opinion.
So I can give a little bit of insight in this because I did speak to Mr. Long.
Okay.
The question that we had as staff on this particular one, Chairman, was this was very similar to what I think Mr. Matt Smith did up behind Raceway. It was a similar thing. So when he came,
He wanted to rezone it from AR to C2 for flex space. This is already zone C2, but we wanted to make sure.
yeah. So we're really bringing it to y'all to check the flex space he talked about was he's a welder, wanted to be able to park his trailer, wanted to have access to other people to do the same thing, a plumber. If he wanted to build 4 bays there instead of just one, he could rent those areas out. Would not be any work done at that location, although we all know that it very well could be if you're a welder and somebody shows up to do something. But we were just kind of unsure. Again, we already kind of had the C2, but I just wanted to bring it to the board to get your thoughts on it.
Well, I think he can have flex space per C2. I'm not sure why we rezone this unless there's another thought going on, and then without the applicant.
Yeah, without the
to
applicant
discuss
here.
that,
That's right.
I don't think we can act on it.
Okay, that's fine.
So at this time, looks like we must, do you want to table this until we can get some more information from the applicant?
Marty, you got some thoughts?
No, I would like to hear from the applicant, or have a better understanding of what we're asking for here. I mean, as I read through his application, it was very vague, and there was no definition of what he was requesting, proven hardship. I didn't see anything here to give me any information to make an educated decision on this.
Well, to be clear, I think what we would actually have to have definitely be a site plan and a definition of exactly what he's intending on doing, so that we can revisit this.
We will request that.
So we will
Have a motion to continue.
I'm able to attend the next meeting and request him be present. If he's not present at that point, make a motion to either approve or deny.
So I'll make a motion to table
Second.
the application
To the next meeting.
till the next meeting.
Yeah, and
And
then I guess you'll be in contact with
Yeah, we'll be in contact.
Yeah, and
We've
if
been in
something that he
contact.
doesn't show up, then we'll just hear it as is and
Could
move
deny.
forward.
That's right.
You
Okay.
definitely want a rendering of what he's wanting to build and do.
Yeah, because he did, I did contact him about the meeting, and he did contacted me back and said that he was in Texas, but he was gonna have Mr. Alan Harris, but I'm not sure if he came out.
I spoke to Alan
Yeah.
a couple days ago, and he didn't mention anything to me about it.
Okay. Then we had a motion from
And a
Mr.
second.
Murphy and a
Do we have a
second.
second?
We have a second?
Yep.
A second, and,
Okay.
Mr. Barfield, all in favor? Aye.
He just called me by my maiden name. That's bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It just means y'all go way back.
Oh, Lord, yes, definitely. Okay. In other business, do we have any other business to attend to? Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Have any planning commission issues or announcements?
No, I will tell you that the job search for a new planning and zoning director is ongoing, and we hope to have somebody in the next few weeks who would be bringing to the board. In the
Like
meantime-
on board, or?
Well, I'd like to. I mean, probably, once they give a notice, we'd like to have the decision made and be working towards that. But yeah, it's probably, I'm gonna guess a month, something along those lines. But in the meantime, if you need something from us, we're here.
Okay, well, that's all. I have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. We can go to the camera, ma'am,
Thank you,
please.
Ms. Jessica.
6:50.
Jacqueline.
Yep.
Just a motion to approve the condition
Thank you.
that the usage changes